The room was eerily quiet, save for the vibration of my phone against the mahogany table. I expected a simple update from legal, but instead, 3 banking notifications popped up. Viking River Cruise Platinum TIA pending charge, $24,600. My brain rejected it. I hadn't booked a vacation in years. Then came the message from my mom, surprise. Since you are doing so well, we knew you'd want to treat us for our 30th vow renewal. Love you. The reality hit, but I didn't panic. I didn't let my hands shake or my stomach drop. This was not about surprise or shock. It was about control. I simply turned my phone over, looked at the CEO, and said, "Excuse me, I have an urgent compliance breach to handle." Calm, controlled. I wasn't just reacting, I was handling a situation that ran much deeper than a simple charge. The truth was clear, but I hadn't fully grasped the magnitude of what I'd just uncovered. This wasn't a family celebration. It was something much darker and the beginning of a long reckoning. It all started when I was just 10 years old. I remember sitting at our kitchen table, the sticky surface stained by years of spilled coffee and forgotten meals. The smell of stale cigarette smoke hung in the air, clinging to the yellowing curtains. And my father sat across from me, rubbing his temples. Math always gave him a headache, he said. So at 10, I found myself balancing his checkbook, figuring out where the numbers didn't add up, and fixing his mistakes before the bills could bounce. I didn't even think twice about it. I just did it. I found the errors, moved the decimals, and saved us from the embarrassment of having our electricity shut off. My dad never thanked me. He just ruffled my hair and said, "Good girl, Maddie, you figure it out." That was the moment, whether I knew it or not, that I signed a contract I didn't understand. It wasn't just about numbers. It was about my place in the family. It wasn't until much later that I realized I'd paid a price for my ability to solve problems for my stability. That's the competence tax. In a healthy family, competence is celebrated. It's rewarded. But in a toxic one, it's punished. It's used. If you're the one who has your life together, if you're the one who can fix things, show up on time, and keep the lights on, you don't get respect. You get the bill. You become the designated carrier for everyone else's chaos. That's how it worked in my family. I didn't ask for it, but there I was. The problem solver, the one who cleaned up everyone's mess. My dad, my mom, they didn't see me as an independent adult. They didn't see me as someone who had their own life to lead. They saw me as an insurance policy, one that had finally matured. I was the bank, the safety net, the one who could always be counted on to bail them out of trouble. And when I didn't comply, when I didn't drop everything to fix their problems, I was met with guilt, anger, and sometimes even threats. They didn't need to say it out loud. They didn't have to ask. I knew my place. If I didn't help, I was the bad guy. I became the go-to person. My parents never asked for permission. They just assumed I'd be there to help. They used my credit score like it was their own, applying for loans in my name, signing me up for bills they never planned to pay. They didn't have to look for help from outside the family because I was there, always willing to fix things. My life was not my own. And yet every time I said yes, every time I paid the bills, every time I took care of another emergency, it chipped away at me. The moments when I tried to say no were always met with disappointment or anger. My stability became a weapon, something they could use whenever they needed. I remember a time when my brother Joshua was in trouble again. Mom and Dad wouldn't help him, they never did. So I did. I paid his debts, bailed him out of the messes he kept getting into. I'd like to say it was out of love, but honestly, I think it was out of duty. I had to. It was expected. I was the one who kept everything running. If something went wrong, it was on me to fix it. They never saw me as an individual with my own dreams, my own needs. No, I was their insurance policy, their safety net, their fixer. And I did it, because that's what you do for family, right? But eventually you start to ask yourself, what about me? When does it stop? But it never does. Because when you're the one who holds it all together, there's always more to fix, more to carry. It doesn't matter if you're exhausted. It doesn't matter if you're struggling. You're the one they rely on, and the moment you show any signs of weakness, they use it against you. That's what it means to pay the competence tax, to be the one who is always stable, always. They're always fixing things. It's a heavy burden, one that I never agreed to, but one I carried for years. I stared at my phone screen in disbelief. The charge blinked back at me, taunting me. Viking River Cruise Platinum. TIA pending charge $24,600. I didn't even know where to begin. It couldn't be right. I hadn't booked a vacation in 3 years, so why was there a charge like this? My mind immediately went into overdrive, trying to process the impossible. I tapped on the notification again, hoping it was a mistake, some glitch in the system. But no. There it was, still glaring at me like a cold, unforgiving truth. $24,600. I hadn't planned any trip. There had been no phone calls, no conversations about cruises or vow renewals. But as I read the text from my mother, Amanda, the reality began to settle in. Surprise, since you are doing so well, we knew you'd want to treat us for our 30th vow renewal. Love you. It was as if the floor had dropped out beneath me. I didn't panic. I didn't yell. I didn't let the shock turn into emotion. I simply turned the phone over and looked at the CEO sitting across from me. I excused myself. There was no time for confrontation right now. There was no space for the frustration or the anger I could feel bubbling up. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows of my condo in downtown Denver, letting the sight of the city calm me. I could feel my pulse quicken, but I didn't let it show. I unlocked my phone and opened my banking app, staring at the charge again, the numbers burning into my brain. I didn't call anyone. I didn't ask questions. I wasn't going to beg for answers or explanations. I didn't need them. I knew exactly what had happened. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It wasn't a mistake. This was something much deeper. This was betrayal. This was financial infidelity. There was no other way to describe it. I couldn't help but remember the countless times my parents had used me, counted on me to clean up their messes. I had bailed them out before. I had fixed their mistakes, paid off their debts, covered their oversights. But this felt different. They had crossed a line. It wasn't just that they had expected me to foot the bill for their vow renewal. It was that they had lied to me, they had stolen from me without even blinking. They didn't just want my money, they had taken it without asking. They had taken my trust too. And now, this was no longer about love or family. This was a betrayal that could not be ignored. I didn't hesitate. I didn't wait for the emotions to overwhelm me. I was beyond that point. I activated the kill switch protocol on my phone. I froze the card. I froze the account. I reported the fraud. I shut them out before they could do any more damage. I wasn't going to be their safety net any longer. I wasn't going to let them use me as an ATM, always counting on me to bail them out of their chaos. But even as I pressed the buttons on my phone, even as I took the first steps toward cutting them off, a wave of cold clarity washed over me. I wasn't done. This wasn't just about the charge. This wasn't just about a single stolen moment. This was the culmination of years of betrayal. I had to know exactly what had been happening. I needed answers. So I sat down at my dining table in the dim light of my condo. I didn't rush. I wasn't going to jump to conclusions. I needed to audit everything. If they had lied about this, what else had they lied about? What else had they stolen from me? I opened my laptop and began to dig. First, I checked the bank statement, looking at the $24,600 charge for the vow renewal. It didn't add up. I knew the price of a group rate for a cruise ticket. I knew what things cost. This was no deal. This wasn't a mistake. My dad had claimed it was a $1,200 ticket, a group rate. That was a lie. A specific, calculated lie. They wanted me to believe it, to stay quiet, to swallow the cost without questioning it. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I divided the total amount by 3. The number of tickets, $8,200 per person. This wasn't a simple miscommunication or a pricing error. This was fraud. They were trying to scam me, betting that I wouldn't question it, that I wouldn't dig deeper. But I wasn't like them. I wasn't going to let them get away with it. As I continued my investigation, I felt a sick sense of recognition. This wasn't the first time they had crossed this line. This wasn't the first time they had lied to me, used me, taken advantage of my hard-earned money. I had spent my whole life cleaning up their messes, smoothing over their chaos, and now it was clear that they had been testing me. They had been slowly, subtly bleeding me dry. Small charges here, small charges there. A $15 charge at a gas station, a $50 charge at a liquor store. A subscription I didn't sign up for, a charge I didn't recognize. I saw the pattern now. It wasn't just about the vow renewal. It was a steady drip of money, a slow theft that I had been too busy to notice. But now, I saw it all. And that was when I found it. A notification in my spam folder buried under months of junk. It was an electronic signature confirmation from DocuSign. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't signed anything. I clicked the link, my fingers trembling. The PDF opened and I stared at the screen. It wasn't a small loan. It wasn't a credit card application. It was a co-sign agreement for refinancing my parents' home. My name was there, my digital signature at the bottom. I felt the air leave my lungs. I'd signed it, or so they made it seem. But I was in Denver when this was signed. The IP address log confirmed it had come from their house, from their device. My identity had been stolen. My signature had been forged. And just like that, I realized that this was no longer a simple matter of family dysfunction. This was a federal crime. This was wire fraud. The more I dug into my bank statements, the more I felt like I was unearthing something I couldn't ignore. At first, it seemed like a few isolated incidents, a handful of charges I didn't recognize. A $15 gas station purchase here, a $50 liquor store charge there. They were small, seemingly harmless amounts, easy to brush off in the midst of a busy life. But as I scrolled through the months of transactions, a pattern started to form. Each charge, though insignificant on its own, added up. I hadn't noticed it before, but now it was all laid out in front of me like a quiet drain on my bank account. I'd been so focused on my own life that I hadn't seen how much they had been testing me, testing the waters to see what they could get away with. These small amounts, ones I never questioned before, were the cracks in the foundation of my trust. And now, seeing them all together, I knew I had been blind to what was happening in front of me. But it wasn't just about these minor charges. As I continued to dig, I found a new notification in my inbox, one that made my stomach drop. It was from DocuSign. I hadn't signed anything, not in recent memory, certainly. Not anything this serious. Curiosity and dread collided as I clicked on the link. The document opened and I saw it immediately. My name, my digital signature at the bottom of the page. But this wasn't a purchase or a loan I had applied for. This was a refinancing agreement for my parents' home. My breath caught in my throat. I hadn't signed it. I didn't even know it existed. I was in Denver when it was supposedly signed, but the IP address log showed the signature came from their house. My parents had forged my signature to refinance their home without my knowledge or consent. My heart raced. My mind scrambled to process what I was seeing. This wasn't just a case of bad judgment. This wasn't a simple misunderstanding. This was fraud. My parents had used my identity without asking, without telling me. They had stolen my name and used it to pull equity from their house. And as I sat there looking at the screen, it wasn't just the financial impact that hit me. It wasn't just the money, the stolen funds. It was a violation of trust. The gut-wrenching realization that they had crossed a line they couldn't uncross. They had betrayed me in a way I couldn't have imagined. They hadn't just borrowed money, they had stolen from me, stolen my identity. This was no longer just about family. This wasn't a mistake or an oversight. This was a criminal act. The weight of the discovery hit me like a punch to the stomach. I had known for years that my family was dysfunctional, but this was something else. This was a crime. I'd always been the one to fix things, the one to clean up the messes, the one who kept things together. But this wasn't something I could fix. This wasn't a problem I could solve with money or time. This was something far bigger, far more insidious. They hadn't just taken my money, they had taken my identity, my autonomy. I couldn't let them get away with this. I wasn't going to let them think they could just walk away from what they'd done. I was done being the fixer, done being the person who always cleaned up their mess. This time, I was going to be the one who exposed the truth. I wasn't going to let them hide behind their lies and manipulation any longer. I opened my laptop again this time with a new sense of resolve. I didn't hesitate. I called the fraud department at the bank, reporting the forged signature and the stolen funds. I called the police, filing an affidavit of identity theft. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It wasn't just about the debt they had tried to saddle me with. It was about the principle. It was about holding them accountable for what they had done. And as the calls were made, as the reports were filed, I realized something deep inside me had shifted. I wasn't the victim anymore. I wasn't the one they had manipulated or used. I was taking control of the narrative. I wasn't going to let them dictate the story anymore. I had been too quiet for too long. I had let them walk all over me, let them take advantage of me in ways I couldn't even fully grasp. But now, I was done. I wasn't going to let them win. I wasn't going to let them get away with what they had done. This wasn't just about financial restitution. It wasn't just about the money they had taken from me. It was about reclaiming my power, my independence, my life. I wasn't just a daughter anymore. I wasn't just a fixer. I was a person. And I was done being used. Sunday afternoon arrived, and I walked into my parents' house ready for war. The moment I stepped inside, I saw the setup and ambush disguised as a family dinner. My mother Amanda sat on the sofa looking frail and pitiful, clutching a tissue as if she were the victim. My father Christopher stood by the fireplace, Arms crossed his face, a mask of disappointment and anger. The rest of the family, my aunts, uncles, cousins, sat in a semicircle waiting for me to take the empty chair at the center of it all. The stage was set. They thought this was about me apologizing, about me admitting I had gone too far. They thought I'd break, that I'd fold under the pressure and beg for forgiveness. But I wasn't here to beg. I wasn't here to apologize. I was here to make them face the truth. I didn't sit in the chair they'd left for me. Instead, I walked past it toward the smart TV mounted above the fireplace. The silence in the room grew heavier as I plugged my laptop into the HDMI cable and prepared to expose everything. I turned to face them, my voice steady, cold, and calculated. "This is not a misunderstanding," I said as I clicked the remote to display the first slide. On the left side of the screen was the invoice from Viking River Cruises showing the $8,200 per ticket charge. On the right side, a text message from my father claiming the tickets were just $1,200 each. The room went deathly quiet. I pointed to the screen, letting the truth sink in. This is theft. The shock on their faces was almost satisfying. I clicked the remote again, and the next slide appeared. It was the DocuSign timestamp, the digital signature, and the IP address log proving the document had been signed from their house. "This, what," I said, "is wire fraud. I've already filed the police report." The room was frozen in disbelief. For a few seconds, no one said a word. Then, my mother's shriek shattered the silence. She stood up, her face contorted in rage, and threw her wine glass at the wall. "I gave you life," she screamed, her voice full of venom. "You owe me everything, you ungrateful child." I didn't flinch. I didn't move. I stood there, watching her, watching my father turn purple with anger, watching my family scramble to make sense of the situation they had created. This wasn't about guilt or sorrow. This was about control, and they had lost it. The eruption that followed was expected. My aunts and uncles recoiled, trying to backpedal to shield themselves from the fallout. But I wasn't afraid of their anger. I wasn't scared of their attempts to shame me back into silence. This was their moment of reckoning. They had to confront the reality of what they had done. I wasn't the villain here. I wasn't the one who had crossed a line. They were. And as the chaos swirled around me, I felt a deep sense of calm. This was the price they had to pay for using me, and I wasn't going to let them off the hook. The fallout from the confrontation was immediate and intense. My parents, caught in the undeniable truth of their actions, erupted in a storm of anger and denial. My mother cried out, accusing me of betraying the family, her voice dripping with bitterness. "How could you do this to us?" she screamed, her face twisted with rage. My father, always the stoic one, turned purple with fury. He didn't care about the fraud. He cared about the fact that I was no longer playing my role as the fixer. My extended family, who had always turned a blind eye to their behavior, tried to defend them, but it was too late. The truth had already come out. The investigation unfolded quickly after I filed the fraud report. The bank, bound by law, pressed charges. The house, once a symbol of my parents' image, was seized as part of the legal repercussions. The financial ruin they had avoided for so long had finally caught up with them. As for me, the cost of this truth was steep. I severed ties completely. I blocked their numbers, cut them out of my life. The guilt I had once carried began to lift, but with it came the harsh realization of what I had lost. I no longer had parents in the traditional sense, and my extended family had become strangers who could never fully understand my decision. Yet in that silence, in the absence of their toxic influence, I found a strange kind of peace. It was a peace I had never known, a freedom that felt terrifying at first, but eventually liberating. The emotional weight had been heavy, but in freeing myself, I had reclaimed my life. The biggest lesson I've learned through this whole experience is the importance of recognizing when you're being used. It's so easy to get caught up in the roles we play in our families, to think that helping or fixing things is a sign of love. But when it starts to drain you, when your boundaries are ignored, that's when you need to take a step back. Reclaiming control over your own life is the most empowering thing you can do. It's not always easy, and it's definitely not without sacrifice, but the peace that comes with knowing you've made the choice for yourself is worth everything. So think about your own family dynamics. Are you the one constantly giving while others take? Are your needs being respected, or are you just being used? Sometimes the hardest decision is to put yourself first. But that's how you break free from toxic cycles. If you can relate to this, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this story helpful or empowering, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's all about sharing these experiences so we can support each other in finding our own strength.